Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to Nerdy for 30, the podcast where comedian Tim Keck and I talk about nerdy-ish things for 30-ish minutes. My name is Kevin Bauer, and today we're talking about something that I don't know would normally be considered nerd fare, but both Tim and myself are fans of romantic comedies, and I feel like this is a good opportunity to nerd out about it. We're talking about The Lost City, now out on Paramount Plus. Starring Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum, tells the story of a romance novelist that ends up in the exact kind of adventure that she normally writes about to hilarious results. Tim, what did you think about this movie?
The Lost City, more like They Lost My Interest. Not the best film I've ever seen. It was an Uncharted caliber movie. Not the best. I didn't love it. But Sandy, I love Sandy. I feel like we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the people involved in this because it's fascinating. You got Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum, Brad Pitt, Daniel Radcliffe, as well as a collective background people that I think are pretty hit or miss. I love Sandy. I love this kind of like weird B tier rom-com she does. I'm a huge The Proposal stan. I love it. Her and Ryan Reynolds like going to Canada. I can't get enough of it. It's so good. So I was like, and I recognize that The Proposal is also not I don't think it's a good movie, but I love it. And so that's what I was expecting from this. And I did not get that. Maybe it's because I'm not the biggest Channing Tatum fan. I'd love to discuss that. I don't know how you feel about Tatum. But the movie had good moments. I don't know if I'm going to be watching it again anytime soon. I
know that I will never watch this movie again. I kind of hated it. It felt like a movie that was made for Paramount Plus. It made total sense that we were watching it on the platform. I'm shocked that this movie got a theatrical release. It just looked horrible. That scene where they were on top of the mountain, the most clear, egregious green screening. I mean, was that a COVID related problem or did they just not try?
Do you think they were really in the jungle for a lot of this, or were they? How much of this was just on a studio set?
Oh, my God, dude. I wish this had been a Chloe Zhao movie and it was like shot method in the jungle.
This was all done on a lot near Sandra Bullock's house. Sandra Bullock is fascinating. I love her so much. I think it's so interesting that she's like a physical comedian. Looking back at her work, she is always falling down. She is always stumbling. And I think some of it's like pretty hit or miss, but like even like Miss Congeniality, she's like a kind of a bumbling mess and she's like falling off of stuff and like falling through things. And for some reason, this is like always a part of her repertoire. Like if you see a Sandra Bullock movie, she's going to fall down at some point or like fall through something. She's fascinating to me. Like, I don't really know who else occupies her space. Like Jennifer Lawrence in real life is doing like a Sandra Bullock like movie impression.
Oh, wow.
You know, where she, like Jennifer Lawrence is like, oh, I'm so cute and I fall downstairs. And like, that's what Sandra Bullock does in like films.
Ah, man, that's very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think that speaks to, I don't feel like Sandra Bullock was in it for this movie. Maybe it's I should have looked at the production history of this movie. Maybe there was shit going on behind the scenes. It seems like she wasn't really invested in it or wasn't really trying that hard. She just seemed checked out.
Yeah, maybe. This wasn't an A performance from Sandy. But you know, what can you do? I think I also blame Channing Tatum. I'm not crazy about Channing Tatum. I'd love to hear your Channing Tatum thoughts. I've been thinking more about this because I think as maybe an aspiring actor of some sort, at least at some point in my life, I think I judge like male actors a little differently. There's like that tinge of jealousy. And I was like trying to boil down my like criteria for what I look for in a male acting performance. And I came up with these three, Kevin. I'd love to know what you're talking about.
Oh, let's hear the quadrants.
One, they have to be funny. And it helps if they're like funnier than me. Like, are they funny? That's the first one. Is this a funny person? Number two.
And I want to clarify real quick. Is this only in comedies, or like if you're watching Goodfellas, you want someone to be able to be funny?
No. This is just if I'm watching any movie, if I turn on a movie and I'm watching a male actor, I ask three questions about this male actor. And this determines whether or not I enjoy them at all, or if I greatly dislike them. Those are the things. And here's the thing. They just need to hit one of these criteria. I've got 3 criteria and they just need to hit one. Then if they don't, we've got a problem. So number 1, are they funny? Number 2, are they a badass, Kevin? Number 3, are they a good actor? Those are the 3 things I look for when I see a man on screen. Channing Tatum doesn't hit any of those for me.
Really?
Am I crazy? He's not a badass. He's not funny. And he's not a good actor, right? So, like, am I judging him too harshly? In my mind, Channing Tatum is not, he's useless. I feel like you can't do a damn thing with it. Reminds me, I just watched the Black Jeopardy sketch again, which is maybe like the best SNL sketch ever. And they have the line where they're like, you know, what can you do? Skinny girls. And Tom Hanks goes, you know, like, what can you do with skinny girls? And Tom Hanks goes, not a damn thing. That's how I feel every time I see Channing Tatum, where it's like, what can I do with Channing Tatum? I'm like, not a damn thing, dude. I just don't want this guy around. I don't care for him. He's not interesting to me. He brings nothing to the table. I mean, he's hot, but he's not like hot. He's just like, my life would be better if I looked like Channing Tatum, but Brad Pitt's way hotter. I mean, we couldn't get anyone from a Marvel movie to do this. He's just there, man. He's just like a bee. You couldn't get Chris Hemsworth, so you pulled out the spare tire in the trunk, and that was, you know, Channing Tatum.
Oh, man.
He's a dud and a half, in my opinion.
He does exist in this kind of weird liminal space between John Cena and Chris Hemsworth. Without really attaining
John
the
Cena's
heights of
way
either.
better.
John Cena's way better.
John Cena and Chris Hemsworth are both outstanding. And Channing Tatum, I don't know what Channing Tatum's thing is. Magic Mike? Who gives a shit? He can dance. That does nothing for me. It's not one of my questions. Can they dance is like not the 4th pillar of whether or not I respect a male actor.
I like Channing Tatum. I do think he is funny. He seems mostly like just a very nice guy. I would like to hang out with Channing Tatum. I don't think I'm ever going to, but I think it'd be fun.
You would like to hang out with Channing Tatum?
I'd like to hang out with Channing Tatum.
I feel like you wouldn't have anything to talk about.
I mean,
I feel like you'd be struggling. You'd be like, so have you watched Moon Knight? And he'd be like, no, I'm not really into Moon Knight. And it's like, okay. What do you do for fun? It's like, I don't really do anything for fun. Okay. Cool. So, how's the family? Oh, you know, I went through a divorce. It was bad. And, now I dance a lot. It's like, okay, cool, Channing. All right. What?
Okay.
I don't know. I can't think of him saying anything interesting.
If we're really getting in here to like how I would try to make inroads with Channing Tatum.
Yeah. Okay. Give me pretend I'm Channing Tatum and try and start a conversation.
Cool. And this is like, I'm bumped into him. Let's say we're in like a green room. Like, let's say we're both in a green room. We've just gotten notification that, you know, the Tonight Show taping is 30 minutes delayed. So the two of us have 30 minutes to kill in the green room at Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, so you're also famous in this scenario. So you're on equal footing with him.
No, I'm a PA. I'm a PA that was in charge of getting him a sandwich. And now I'm stuck in the room with him.
Okay.
Great. They had the animal guy on, you know, some kind of like a poisonous Gila monster got loose. We have to keep the door locked. There's 30 minutes.
You're just killing 30 minutes with Channing Tatum.
Right.
He's like on his phone.
He's on his phone. Cool. Perfect. This is just like many times I've been in the green room before a show has started.
Yeah.
So, man, I got to ask, how much chicken breast do you eat? Because I always hear that everybody that's really ripped, like I always hear that you just get so sick of chicken breast. Is it really just chicken breast all the time? I mean, are there any like vegetables that are high in protein you can kick in there? Like I'm going straight to diet.
Are you talking to me? It's like you're the only 2 people in there. And he's like, what? Sorry, I'm playing. So I'm working on the Wordle. Still haven't gotten one of these right, but one of these days. Give me a second. Damn it. Okay, now I've got 24 hours free. Yeah, I eat mostly chicken. My chef prepares it for me. I eat mostly chicken and vegetables.
Word. Damn. That's got to be great. You know, I feel like I would eat so much healthier if I had a private chef. It's just the convenience, you know, like the convenience of shitty food. It's just so much easier accessible.
Can we get out of this room?
And no, I think we got 28 minutes left in here.
28 more minutes here. Huh.
Hey, you know, I haven't done the Wordle yet on my phone. If you want to give it a shot on mine.
Yeah, that's all right. No. Have you seen Magic Mike?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. It was really good, man.
I was in Magic Mike, and then I'd take my shirt off.
He takes his shirt off in the green room.
Yeah. Then he takes his shirt off and he's like, remember this from Magic Mike? And you're like,
yeah, that's why I was asking about the chicken cutlets, dude.
Okay. I guess I feel like the point's been made. At least on my end. I don't think he's an interesting person. I don't know. What do you think of when you think of Channing Tatum? What's the first thing that pops in your head? Is there like a movie, a scene, anything that comes out?
I mean, I go right to Magic Mike. I really enjoyed him in the 21 and 22 Jump Street movies. I feel like in that case, he was under a pair of extremely strong directors with Chris Miller and Phil Lord. Yeah, I think there's stuff there. I think he just reads as like a very nice, he's kind of like a sitcom protagonist, I think. I think Channing Tatum could anchor a really solid sitcom.
Yes, he's a sitcom actor.
Yeah.
That's probably like exactly what he should be. He should be on Neighbors or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Know? If they make like
replacing Schmidt.
Perfect.
He could do that. I mean, he's maybe like slightly too handsome for a sitcom actor.
Maybe, but if that's
like how handsome I would put him.
Especially he could crush the role where you're maybe not the I think he could be the protagonist on a sitcom. I think he has enough depth to anchor the protagonist spot on a sitcom. And 21 and 22 Jump Street proved that he is able to be like a very strong anchor for other people to perform comedically with.
I feel like he could easily do like a cameo on How I Met Your Mother and like date Robin for a couple episodes. And you wouldn't even think about it. It would just be generic hot guy that Robin is dating. I feel like that's like the tier where he belongs. And the fact that he has a career outside of that is an atrocity. What? I guess I was trying to think of like thieves for this. And there were jokes in this that I think are interesting. There was the one where they killed the bikers, where they made the clothesline and then they clotheslined the biker and then the motorcycle hit the other guy and they both fell off a cliff and then they kind of like riffed on it. Mm-hmm. And there's like, it got me thinking about this like style of comedy that's very self-referential. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that thing happened. Let's talk about this thing that just happened in like kind of like a fourth wall breaking way. When did this start? Is this like a Marvel movie thing? Is this like a James Gunn thing? Because this is like modern comedy now, it feels like, right?
Yes, I despise it. It's something that I've never hated.
The Hangover kind of did it.
My least favorite thing in any improv scene is if somebody is like pulling snakes out of their pocket and somebody else in the scene goes, "Why do you have so many snakes in your pocket?" Because it's like, yes, that is the joke. It always gets a laugh. It always crushes in the room, and it always lets all of the air out of the comedy of the scene because you've directly addressed what the audience has. You've directly addressed the tension instead of making some kind of other comment about the snakes. You can still comment on the fact that this person is pulling snakes out of their pocket without questioning the reality of it. And every single time one of these jokes happens, it just gets rid of any of the reality of the scene. You mentioned James Gunn. It's the reason I don't like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 as much as Volume 1, just because of like the Taserface shit, where we have a character that's named Taserface and we have like 20 minutes of Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon laughing at something that is not that funny and saying, "I can't believe your name is Taserface. What a dumb name, Taserface." And it's just, fucking, it's cheap. It's lazy.
Yeah, it feels cheap and lazy. I kind of like it in more. It's kind of like become the Marvel tone. It's definitely been the tone that James Gunn has for a lot of stuff. So when I'm watching a James Gunn thing, I expect it. It was a little tired to me in Peacemaker, but it feels kind of like lowest hanging fruit, like what it is. But that was like definitely the funniest thing in the movie for me. Mm-hmm. And when Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock started doing that, which I don't think is necessarily a move that Sandy usually pulls out of her tool belt, I was just kind of like, anything interesting that Channing Tatum has done in this movie, I think anyone could do.
Interesting.
Where it's like, you think he's funny. I think anyone could say the lines that deliver the lines that he said in that moment and have it be funny. I think it's a pretty, that kind of comedy is like very low hanging fruit, I think, from an acting perspective. So I don't know. I guess that really just stood out to me as being like interesting of like I think the writing in this, any comedy came from like the writing much more so than Channing Tatum, anything Channing Tatum was doing.
Dude, that's
I don't think he was improvising a lot of lines on the set. That makes sense.
That's interesting, though. The fact that you said anybody could do it, I think maybe that's the reason that this comedy is so prolific, is because it is very accessible, especially to people that aren't necessarily that funny. The exact move I'm talking about, where someone calls out the reality of the scene, you see that all the time in entry-level improv classes, because people have just started doing it and they are just grabbing at any straw they can find that might work. Wow.
Yeah. Like, what's easier to do, talking about the thing or doing the thing and living in the moment?
Right. Dealing with the consequences.
Doing the thing is, yeah, that's a million times harder. Like, you have to be thinking, you have to have experience to do that, but it's easy to talk about stuff.
Wow.
Like, it's entry level comedies, but
well, I think we just cracked it then, is because it is, it is that thing that anybody can hang their hat on. But Sandy is better. She can do better than that. She has done like very, very good.
Sandy's
roles.
Funny and talented, and I cannot say enough good things about Sandra Bullock. Not necessarily in this movie, but like she's fine. But she's great in other stuff.
I think so. You mentioned that too, and I did want to bring up the tone of this movie. I feel like we've done a lot of complaints in the past couple episodes about like inconsistent tone in movies. So I feel a little bit bad harping on this again, but this one really, truly, had bizarre tonal mismatches where we have scenes that seem very light and playful, and then Brad Pitt's head gets exploded and it's disgusting. We have those scenes where they kill people and they're like, oh, what do we do about this? We didn't mean to, right? But then we also have the scene where Alan thought he killed Sandra Bullock and has a really intense moment where he has to grapple with that before we see that she just got tossed out of the car and she's fine. The intro to, I guess, the not call to adventure, the crossing the threshold, whatever the fuck you want to call it, when Sandra Bullock gets kidnapped and she's like doing bits with the kidnappers. Like, is this a kidnapping? Am I being kidnapped right now? She's not taking it seriously. You would never fucking do that if you were actually getting like dragged into a room tied up by these two buff mercenary looking dudes.
That's Sandra's wheelhouse, though. That's what she does. That's the heat. That's like miscongeniality. That's her move, I feel like.
But I think it works if the entire movie has that tone, and I don't think it did.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with you. It's weird. It doesn't feel like this set Sandra up for success. But yeah, because she does kind of have that, which I think is a little harder to do. I don't know. Like, she normally has a pitch that's kind of like not really taking this seriously, maybe riffing on it. I guess, I don't know. I did just say that that's like the lowest form of comedy, but I guess I feel like she has, I don't know. I guess I'm having a hard time putting my finger on it, but she does have that like kind of tier of like kind of talking shit, I guess, in the moment, or like not really grappling with the situation that I think is like a little higher caliber than just like, oh my God, did you just see that motorcycle?
Yeah. It's weird because I think maybe part of what ruins it for me is the fact that this movie does look so cheap. It looks so like, it looks like a Paramount Plus original. And I think some of that stuff where you're commenting on the world maybe works a little bit better when the movie looks really expensive. Like, you're very aware of the fact that this is like a super polished production. Whereas, after Doctor Strange, Lauren and I went back through and we started watching some of the older Sam Raimi movies. And the original Evil Dead was made for like no money. It looks like a movie that we could make right now with a camcorder. Like, it looks like we took our iPhones and went out into a cabin and made a movie. But all the actors are taking it so seriously, even though like goofy gore and stuff is going on. They are really invested in the reality of the world. It's scary as fuck. So because the production itself is a little bit lower budget, the actors are committed enough to make up for it, and you see past the flaws in the production. And when it's a shitty production and people are commenting on how goofy something is, I mean, you're just poking holes.
I agree. Can we end on some thieves?
Yeah.
I want to rapid fire go through some of these other actors in here, which I think is interesting.
I think you're a thief.
Brad Pitt is amazing. He is perfection. He hits all of my quadrants for what I expect from a male performer. He's insane. He's perfect. He's a flawless human being on screen.
His fight scenes were so good. They were so good. Like, way better. We've talked about fight scenes serving story and stuff before. Not only did they serve the story, I mean, they went way above and beyond what they needed to do for action scenes in this movie. It was incredible.
I was thinking, like, he's age-wise, him and Sandra Bullock, I think, make sense together. Chemistry-wise, I just don't see how they could be like co-leads in a movie. Brad's like too serious, and Sandra is like a little more like, you know, commenty on what's going on or like undercutting. And I don't see how they get along. But as a tease, I think it's great. Daniel Radcliffe, I really dug him in this movie. I think this is a great lane for him, which is just like crazy eccentric millionaire. I think he did something kind of like this and like Now You See Me Too, where he's just kind of like, he's just a great like B movie tier villain, right?
It's wonderful. I am such a huge fan of Daniel Radcliffe playing weird, crazy villains. It's the best.
The other one that stood out, or like two more that stood out to me, was Oscar Nunez is like he was also in The Proposal. And I'm wondering if he's friends with Sandra Bullock. That's my question coming away from this.
Oh, I could totally see that. We were talking about how that relates to your Office point, where everybody in the Office was so perfectly cast that when you see them in anything that's not The Office, you're just like, you're just Oscar. And I feel bad that's the case here.
It is. But he's done kind of this character. He plays like kind of like an effeminate, you know, language barrier guy in The Proposal. I feel like this is his pitch. I feel like it's weird because like this is his Jim Halpert, like, you know, tough voice is just like an effeminate, you know, vaguely ethnic character that is like, it's weird. I don't know. I thought her like manager was like kind of disappointing. I thought that was like kind of the role where that's like a good like jumping off role where you find like an up and comer who like crushes it. Like Patty Harrison's in the movie, and I think she does like the most with what she got. And the manager, I was just like, oh, this is kind of a dud. She's just kind of here. I wish it was, I don't know, like the Jonah Hill role of like just coming off the bench and crushing it whenever you get it. Like the Little Ray spot. Like that was like the spot for that person. And it's like Davine Joy Randolph. I've never heard of her before. I don't think we're ever going to hear of her again. It's a little sad, but I'm like, I don't know. There's just nothing exciting about her. But then they got like Bowen Yang for like this other, like another role. They got like some other weird, like, I don't know. This is just a good kind of like comedy that puts people in spots and lets them shine. And I don't know. It's cool that hopefully they get stuff from it because some people did really well.
Oh my God. It's a bizarrely deep bench in this movie. Bowen's a great example where of like making the most out of a small role. I think he really did a lot with the role that he had in this. I feel like if we had gotten another cut at any point to him at another one of those conferences saying like mount it to the stool again, that becomes the enduring running joke out of this movie, right? Is if you've seen The Lost City, then people are like, you've seen The Lost City? Oh my God, yeah, mount it. Like he really made that work. I love the hashtag Shawn Mendes at Shawn Mendes stuff that Patty was doing too.
That's pretty funny. Patty was great. Her reading to the mom, like the Nana at the end, I thought was great.
Oh, it's wonderful. They both really crushed it. Like they both made a lot. I think you're totally right. The manager, I don't know if that's a role where you go really dramatic with it. I don't know if that's a role where you just take it super, super seriously and you don't try to give it any kind of an edge of comedy. Maybe that's the lines that were written for that character. I don't know. But I agree. It kind of fell flat for me.
Cool. Any other thoughts on the movie, Kev?
No, you know what? Just that I really like adventure movies. I was really looking forward to this. We saw the trailer for this, I think, before Uncharted, and it made me more excited for this than Uncharted that we were about to say. I can't say I was ever that excited about Uncharted, but yeah, I felt let down. I wanted a lot more. I
feel like it inspired a good discussion, but was not great.
Sure.
Didn't love it. Don't know if I'm ever going to watch it again. Yeah, I'd like to see all these people and other stuff other than Channing Tatum. And yeah, it is what it is.
Wow.
We're not all winners, guys. But hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. As always, like, subscribe, hit us up. Give me your Channing Tatum thoughts. Spot or not for Channing Tatum.
Are you a tater hater? Let Tim know.
Are you a tater hater? Not to be confused with the potato haters, which I'm no longer a part of. Potatoes all the way. Thanks for listening. Stay nerdy, friends.
Bye.
Bye.